Thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has lauded Enugu State Governor Dr. Peter Mba for his leadership and commitment to development, describing him as a focused and result-oriented leader. Speaking during his first official visit to Enugu on Saturday, President Tinubu praised Governor Mba's efforts, stating that Enugu is making significant strides under his administration. The president commissioned several projects during his visit and called for unity across political divides, urging leaders to prioritize national progress. Addressing the removal of fuel subsidies, President Tinubu defended the policy as vital for the nation's future. He also commended Governor Mba's focus on security and the establishment of the Distress Response Squad to enhance safety in the state. The president encouraged the people of Enugu to continue supporting Governor Mba in his drive for development and progress.
This house, we must build it. Build it to satisfy our immediate need, which is not going to be enough yet, but our tomorrow too. That is why the removal of the fuel subsidy was necessary. You cannot spend the future of generations yet unborn in advance. Don't bankrupt the nation before they are born. And people will fight, grumble, abuse me and everything. But I asked for the job. I know what it takes. I believe in myself. And I believe I can gather a very good team and build a nation. It's our country. We have to work really hard for it to be the nation that we can be proud of. Change the narrative. Negative comment about Nigeria. I'm not taking that. I'm very proud of Nigeria.
Enugu State Governor Peter Ndubisi Mba has reaffirmed that the state no longer observes a sit-at-home order or adheres to a directive from any external group. Speaking during President Bola Tinubu's visit to the state on Saturday, Governor Mba highlighted his administration's advancement in security, crediting an AI-driven surveillance network and the Distress Response Squad for enhancing safety across Enugu. The governor expressed gratitude for the president's recognition of these efforts, emphasizing that it aligns with his vision to expand Enugu's economy from $4.4 billion to $30 billion within the next 8 years. President Tinubu's one-day official visit included the commissioning of several projects, further solidifying federal support for the state's developmental strides.
Your Excellency, I'm pleased to announce that we no longer observe sit-at-home in Enugu. Our people go to work every day of the week, and we no longer take orders from non-state actors. And we have been through a number of projects which Your Excellency has graciously commissioned. A number of those projects are essentially connecting the dots for us to enable us realize our dream of growing the economy from the current levels of 4.4 billion to 30 billion. Our development model is one that it's all encompassing and inclusive. It takes into account the weakest amongst us, and which is why in the smart school, the smart green school that Your Excellency commissioned earlier today, it's being built across the 260 electoral wards in Enugu State.
President Bola Tinubu has tasked the Nigerian Armed Forces to intensify efforts in reducing criminal activities to their barest minimum, particularly in flashpoints areas across the country. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa made this known during his ongoing working visit to frontline units under Operation Safe Haven in Plateau and Kaduna states. News Central Chizoba Anyowe has the details.
It's been a week-long working visit by the Chief of Defense Staff to Kaduna and Plateau states, where he has consistently emphasized team spirit among troops, improved welfare, and greater dedication to duty. During his stop at the 3-Division headquarters in Jos and proceeding to Sector 8 of Operation Safe Haven in Mangu, General Christopher Musa relayed the President's directive for troops to redouble their efforts in the fight against insurgency.
You can see the equipment are here to show that we're getting better. The President has continued to support us and has mandated us that this year we must make greater difference, and that's what we are promising. And we're happy with the way things are turning out. So we want Nigerians to continue to support members of the armed forces and other security agencies. We're doing so much and we'll continue to do more. We're not going to relent.
General Musa expressed optimism that under the leadership of the General Officer Commanding 3 Division and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar, the Nigerian Armed Forces would continue to achieve significant progress.
I want to commend the Commander of Operation Safe Haven and all the troops, Sector Commander and all the men, to show that so much has been done. Last year, with a lot of successes. We're hoping this year it will be a lot better. But for us, we want to get to a stage where we don't need to have soldiers out. Police should be able to do their own job. But we want to provide that enabling environment. For us, that is success.
The visit also featured a display of recovered arms and ammunition previously in the wrong hands. He assured that measures are being put in place to ensure manufacturers focus their efforts on positive contributions to national development.
Chief of Defense Staff, Armed Forces of Nigeria.
According to the Chief of Defense Staff, more combat enablers will be added to these ones you're seeing right behind me to ensure that criminality of all sorts is reduced to its barest minimum, not just in Plateau State, but in Nigeria as a whole. In Mangu for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
The recommendation for the compulsory retirement of 2 judges by the National Judicial Council (NJC) over allegations of age falsification has sparked debate among senior lawyers in Nigeria. On November 15, the NJC, chaired by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, announced the retirement of the Chief Judge of the Imo State High Court, Justice T.E. Chukwuemeka Chikeka, and the Grand Cadi of Yobe State, Kadi Babangana Madi, over discrepancies in their dates of birth. Justice Madi reportedly had 3 conflicting birth dates, December 10th, January 28, and July 1959, with his actual birth year confirmed as 1952. While some Nigerians have called for the persecution of the judges as a deterrent, several senior advocates of Nigeria SANS have expressed opposing views. They argue that persecuting the judges might be excessive, suggesting that the disciplinary action taken by the NJC is sufficient. The debate continues to generate discussions about accountability and judicial integrity in the country. Prominent human rights lawyer Femi Falana says former President Umaru Yar'Adua rejected the sale of the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries to a consortium led by Dangote Oil because his predecessor, Olusegun Obasanjo, failed to follow due process in the transaction. On Thursday, Obasanjo said the late president turned down a $750 million offer from Aliko Dangote, chairman of the Dangote Group, to manage the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries in 2007. He added that his administration had plans to tackle the challenges faced by the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries during his tenure. However, Falana, in a statement, countered this narrative, saying Obasanjo had sold a 51% stake in the Port Harcourt refinery to Blue Star Oil for $561 million. He added that Blue Star Oil was a consortium comprising Dangote Oil, Zenon Oil, and Transcom. Earlier, we're joined by energy expert Nick Ogoni to shed some light on the conversation. Take a look.
Which was President Obasanjo's last year in office, as he was serving his second term. There was a flurry of activities in terms of privatization, specifically the refineries. And he sold stakes in the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries. And just as Femi Falana, the renowned senior advocate of Nigeria, has said, the Council of Privatization, which the Vice President was the head, was charged with the responsibility for doing that. But let's not forget that in Nigeria, the office of the Vice President is not an office on its own. That is an office that is jointly held with that of the President. There are places where the Vice President can be elected on a different party platform from the President, but that's not the case in Nigeria. The powers of the Vice President are resident in the powers of the President. So even though the Privatization Act did say the Vice President is the chairman, it's not to say that the President, using his executive powers, couldn't have presided over the privatization of the country, of the country's government-owned enterprises. But that be as it may, we know that in the aftermath of the privatization, which was at the twilight of the Obasanjo years, a lot of agitations happened thereafter, where people thought that the refineries were sold for cheap, and they went on strikes.
Meanwhile, oil marketers have urged the federal government to privatize state-owned refineries, promote competition, enhance transparency and accountability, and also invest in infrastructure to improve operations in the downstream sector of the petroleum industry. The marketers also called for the government to enforce local content development, ensure the effective adoption of compressed natural gas by 2025, and address the issue of petroleum product smuggling. Under the umbrella of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, the traders further appealed for prioritized access to crude oil and a 100 billion naira grant to support 10,000 businesses affected by the removal of subsidies. In a statement signed by its national officers, led by National President Billy Gillis Harry, the association highlighted key achievements in 2024, including the deregulation of the sector, the rehabilitation of the old Port Harcourt refinery, and the commencement of operations at the Dangote refinery. Some respite may also be coming the way of the Ogoni this year. Now, that's because the Project Coordination Office of the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project has announced that several key projects in Ogoni land are set for completion this year. In a statement on Friday, the project coordinator, Nani Barini Zabe, outlined high-price plans, which include soil and groundwater remediation, shoreline cleanup, as well as mangrove restoration. Now, Zebai also highlighted that a socio-economic study of Ogoni land would also commence alongside advanced research into West African bloody cocoa spat production and field stocking trials to support local livelihoods. Now, additionally, he revealed that the HYPREL will initiate a 3-year public health study focusing on human biomonitoring in the second quarter of 2025. Other initiatives include characterizing high-risk sites for remediation and conducting a carbon stock assessment of mangrove restoration areas, among other efforts aimed at sustainable environmental and economic development. Earlier, the Executive Director, Advocacy Center, Dr. Fineface Danamine, who shared his perspectives with us on Ogoni land cleanup. Take a look.
The report also talked about the fact that the Ogoni struggle, for which the Ogoni leaders were killed in 1995, November 4, were true. And the reports actually portrayed and opened up the fact that the Ogoni environment is polluted. Benzene, which is a cancer-causing agent, was found in Ogoni land's water body, underground water, 900 times above World Health Organization recommended standard. It was also found that the entire water body of Ogoni land has been destroyed by hydrocarbon over multiple years of oil extraction that happened in the area. So all of this put together, UNEP recommended that the Ogoni environment will take between 25 to 30 years to clean up. And so far, since 2011, that the report was released on August 4, the cleanup did not take place until 2016, when the former President Muhammadu Buhari flagged up the project in that year, 2016. So by 2017, the project and acts of cleaning up Ogoni land actually started in earnest. So if you check how many years have been spent so far, it is less than 10 years, since the project commenced. And we still have over 15 years to 20 years, to go in order to really restore the Ogoni environment, especially the shoreline, where we have major environmental pollution. I think they should follow the implementation of the UNEP report according to how UNEP has recommended it. There is every step that UNEP has put out there in the report that should be holistically followed, with a few and pockets of reviews, because a lot of time has elapsed. So for us to really have sustainability in the environmental remediation process, there must be a kind of the cleanup agency, that is IPRES, must bring in stakeholders, including UNEP, should be part of this process. But we recently heard that UNEP has moved and pulled out of the process as a result of some things that are happening that they are not comfortable with. But they need to follow this process systematically and ensure that the environment is being remediated, the report is being implemented in such a way that they follow the laid down procedure of UNEP in that report, because they're the experts here and they have recommended what needs to be done, how it should be done, and where it should be done to carry out this process. That is why they recommended that for the first 5 years of the project, $1 billion should be released to carry out that process.
The craft of canoe making, steeped into the traditions of the riverine communities in Kogi State, has continued to thrive despite the threat of globalization. Now, while the craft has continued to provide job opportunities for many in the area, it also serves as indispensable industry for the transportation sector along the water's inland, the state's inland waterways. Now, correspondent Joshua Marayu visited one of such workshops and tells us more in this report. Take a look.
In Kogi State, north-central Nigeria, canoe making is not just a trade, it is a tradition passed down through generations. The artisans here select specific types of wood, like mahogany and ekpe, known for their resistance to water.
Who want the billboard? They know they like water, where the wood where they carry water. Mahogany, apa, madrin, ekpe. Now, they really wood.
While the craft was once done manually with hand saws, utilizing modern technology and equipment has made the process easier and more efficient.
The first design on top table, we go put join them, design them. If you design them, you go come carry and put for here. You go use this engine. Before, now hand would they use, but another experience don't come. The time we will learn work, now this saw would they use. But as experience they come, we can't they use those engines.
With more than 12 learners under his mentorship, the head of this workshop says that he ensures that they are supported with stipends at the end of the day.
If I close work now, you get the one where I will give them the small, now learn they learn, no. You get the one where I will give them 2,000, you get the one where I will give them 5,000, you get the one where I will give them 3,000. Maybe no con they request money for food for people hand.
As you can see, this is an already finished boat capable of taking 15 persons at the same time. The style of this particular boat is peculiar to people here in Kogi State.
You get small one like that 2 person on. Would they do if not dry season, would they do 35? But rain season wood they hard. Would they do 40,000? The way they carry 2 person. You get the one way they carry 5 people, they do 60,000. It different 10 person, the money there, now so they different. As you see motor being, now so they being.
Remains an essential part of the life of citizens. It is a tradition that not only supports communities, but also shapes the future of young artisans through skillful training and mentorship. In Lokoja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Residents of Wasai community in the Binjibar local government area of Kano State have lauded the establishment of the Binjibar Park, expected to attract tourists to their community. Now, speaking to News Central Television in Binjibar, one of the leaders of the community says that the park will create jobs for youths, boost tourism in the area, and serve as a recreational spot during the festive seasons as well as holidays. News Central's Emmanuel Bogudu reports.
They call it Lagos in Kano. The Minjibur Park, located in Wasai, Minjibur local government area of the state, is one of the few recreation parks with waterways. Despite being located about 45 kilometers from the Kano city center, citizens, both young and old, troop there in their numbers, especially during the festive seasons.
The environment is very, very beautiful and very nice. If I have to tell somebody that I went to Lagos, they will believe me because of how the place is very amazing, very beautiful and organized. It's very simple experience, just to drive. When customers want to, maybe they don't want to sit, you have to tell them we slow down, tell them that you sit normal, and then when we drive to that building, after reach that building we come back.
For the host community, the park has become fundamentally important to them and will remain their pride, as it has also attracted investors investing in the natural resources of the area, thus creating jobs and tackling the challenge of unemployment for youth in the community. Yes, especially now that a lot of our children have finished schools. Honestly, the park brought jobs to them. Honestly, it's not a small help. Yes, for investors to gather money, build this kind of park, it means that they are helping government, because the government may not be able to create jobs for everyone because children just go to school and no jobs. This has contributed to this insecurity issue bedeviling us, because some of these children don't like stressful jobs. They just go about looking for ways to make money. Yes, our village is now popular, not just in Kano, but in Nigeria. You can't just find this kind of park anywhere. In fact, if not for this economic hardship. If you come here during the Salah celebrations, you will be amazed at the crowd who are coming from different states across Nigeria. For this reason, Wasai in Minjibur local government here in Kano is popular worldwide.
It's wonderful, it's refreshing, it's soothing, it's just home away from home. Just feel like home.
Very inspiring words out there from Nigerians who are here to enjoy this pristine paradise. It is expected that this will be a source of inspiration for tourists and investors to come to Kano and invest. In Minjibur, Kano State, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Babudu.
Still in northern Nigeria, respite has come to the way of farmers in Borno State as the governor, Professor Babangana Umara Zulum, has announced that the state government will subsidize the cost of petrol for farmers in communities affected by the Boko Haram insurgency. Now, he made this announcement in Bama town during the launch of farm input distribution to over 5,000 farmers recovering from years of displacement caused by insurgent activities. News Central's Umaru Kirawa has the details.
Farmers, community and traditional leaders gathered at the Shehu of Bama's palace, a location once inaccessible due to Boko Haram's control over the town. The government distributed agricultural inputs such as solar-powered water pumps, improved seeds and fertilizers, among other essential items.
One of the major challenges that is facing the farming communities here as regards irrigation farming is the increasing cost of fossil fuel. And therefore, I want to announce to the general public that government will procure petroleum products and sell to the farmers at a subsidized rate. A liter of petrol is being sold in Maiduguri at a cost of about 1,200 naira. But inshallah, henceforth, for irrigation farmers, for this farming season, a liter of petrol will be sold at the rate of 600 naira. Government is ready to invest an amount not less than 1 billion naira for this purpose.
The governor highlighted that a similar initiative carried out in 2024 in Damasak, Mobar local government area, significantly boosted food production and enhanced livelihoods.
Solar water pumps is 380 units of solar water pumps. 1,000 units of knapsack sprayers. 800 rolls of 2-inch flexible hose. 1,000 liters of pesticides. So far, so good, about 100 tube wells were drilled. But inshallah, another 250 tube wells will be drilled for irrigation purposes. Inshallah, more than 5,000 farmers will benefit from this scheme.
Stakeholders applauded the initiative and encouraged farmers to use the provided resources for their intended purpose. The resettlement of neighboring towns and villages, the government stressed, is essential to ensuring sustainable livelihoods for displaced persons. If this initiative succeeds, large-scale farming will become a reality, ensuring food security across the region. In Bama for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Hey, welcome back. And now to the west of the continent, Mali's army announced on Saturday that its forces, had arrested 2 individuals, including a senior figure in the Sahel branch of the Islamic State group, during an operation in the country's north. In a statement, the army identified one of the detainees as Mohammed Old Al-Kadhi, alias Abu Rakir, alongside Abu Hash. He was described as a key leader in the group. The pair are accused of orchestrating atrocities in the Manaka and Guada regions and coordinating attacks against Malian forces. The operation also led to the deaths of several fighters linked to the Islamic State group, the military said. Mali has struggled with unrest since 2012, driven by militant activity associated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group, as well as local criminal networks. The ongoing instability remains a significant challenge for the West African nation. 5 civilian volunteers working with the army in Burkina Faso were killed during this week in an attack in the western part of the country. The volunteers recruited locally are provided with weapons and undergo 3 months of training. They may operate alongside professional soldiers or independently. The attack sparked protests among locals who blocked the main highway connecting the region to the Togolese border. The blockade lasted several hours before being dispersed by the authorities. Terrorism first erupted in the neighboring Mali in 2012, later spreading to Niger and Burkina Faso. All 3 West African countries are currently governed by military juntas. And off to Central Africa, where Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have captured the strategic town of Masisi in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. Local officials have confirmed on Saturday. The March 23 movement, M23, a militia supported by Rwanda, has been advancing across eastern DRC since 2021, displacing thousands and worsening an already dire humanitarian crisis. Alexis Mahunga, the deputy of North Kivu province, confirmed Masisi's fall, describing it as a major setback that plunges the region into further humanitarian turmoil. Masisi, home to around 40,000 people, serves as the administrative hub of the Masisi territory, an area known for its agriculture, livestock, and mineral resources. The town lies approximately 80 kilometers, that's about 50 miles north of Goma, the provincial capital of North Kivu. The situation continues to escalate as international efforts to address the conflict face significant challenges. And just 5 years after this first outbreak, the World Health Organization has declared the outbreak of a new coronavirus in China a global health emergency, citing concerns over its potential international spread. WHO Director General made the announcement during a press conference in Geneva after the organization's emergency committee convened and recommended the designation of a public health emergency of international concern. The DG emphasized that the declaration was driven by the situation in China, but by the risk posed to countries with weaker health systems that may struggle to contain the virus. Among the WHO's recommendations to control the outbreak are accelerating the development of vaccines and treatments, improving preparedness in vulnerable nations, and combating misinformation and the virus. The global health body is urging coordinated international efforts to address the escalating crisis. Interesting times ahead. In the meantime, off to Southeast Asia, or rather to, Southeast Asia, where security forces under Syria's interim government have launched a large-scale operation in Homs city, focusing on 2 districts predominantly inhabited by the Alawi minority of former President Bashar al-Assad. According to security officials, the Ministry of Interior, in collaboration with the Military Operations Department, is targeting individuals accused of war crimes and others refusing to surrender weapons or report to settlement centers. The operation also seeks to uncover hidden caches of ammunition and arms. Following the Islamist-led rebels' overthrow of Assad last month, interim authorities have been registering former soldiers and conscripts, urging them to relinquish their weapons. Armed forces have been deployed to Homs to enforce compliance with a curfew imposed in parts of the city to ensure order during the operation. Authorities emphasize the need for stability and accountability as the country navigates its transitional period.
استكمالا للحملة السابقة التي قمنا بها لمطاردة فلول عصابات الأسد في هذه المنطقة التي تعتبر مرتعا لشبيحته، حيث قام بتسليح هذه المنطقة بالذخائر الحية الثقيلة والفردي. استطعنا ضبط مخزن كبير يحتوي على عدة ذخائر ثقيلة وفردي، والقبض على بعض ممن تورط في دماء السوريين.
نحن كإدارة العمليات العسكرية قمنا بمؤازرة الأمن العام في مدينة حمص، وقمنا بفرض طوق أمني حول الأحياء السكنية لملاحقة فلول النظام البائد.
The president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, has said that uncovering the fate of those who disappeared during Syria's civil war will be an extensive effort likely to span years. In an interview, ICRC spokesperson, or rather, I take that again, ICRC's president, highlighted that the issue of tens of thousands of detainees and missing persons remains one of the most painful legacies of the conflict. The war, which began in 2011 with the brutal suppression of an anti-government protest by then-President Bashar al-Assad, has claimed over 500,000 lives. Many of the missing are believed to have been tortured and buried in mass graves, with families still searching for answers. While thousands of detainees were released following the recent ousting of Assad by Islamist-led rebels, countless Syrians remain in the dark about the fate of their loved ones. The ICRC's president emphasized that the organization is collaborating with caretaker authorities, NGOs, and the Syrian Red Crescent to gather data and provide families with information as quickly as possible.
We've been following up on 35,000 cases, and since we established a new hotline in December, we are adding another 8,000 requests. But that is just potentially a portion of the numbers that exist that we could still be looking into. At the moment, we are working with the authorities, we are working with different national institutions, we are working with non-governmental organizations, and especially also with the National Red Crescent Society, to build the mechanisms that will allow us to get a better overview. Identifying the missing and informing the families about their fate is going to be a huge challenge, and it will take time to absorb the task ahead of us. And there will be cases we will never happen to identify. We need cooperation, we need partners, and we need the national authorities and the national government institutions to work with us very closely.
Global food commodity prices fell by 2.1% in 2024, providing slight relief, the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO reported. Now, despite this decline, prices remain 26% higher than pre-COVID-19 levels, highlighting persistent inflationary pressures. The FAO Food Price Index, tracking international prices of key commodities, averaged 122 points in 2024, down from 124.6 in 2023. However, the index rose from 117.6 in January to 127 in December, driven by meat, dairy, and vegetable oil price hikes. Cereal and sugar prices fell 13.3% and 13.2% respectively, offset by a 9.4% rise in vegetable oil prices. Analysts note that Russia's invasion of Ukraine and market disruptions continue to affect food security globally. The FAO warned that despite declines, high food costs remain a challenge, especially for vulnerable economies grappling with post-pandemic recovery. South Africa PSL giants Mamelodi Sundowns have suffered a 1-0 defeat to Morocco Putula Pro Giants Raja Casablanca in a heated CAF Champions League Group C clash on Saturday. The South African side had two players sent off, with midfielder Batusi Albas receiving a straight red card for studs-up challenge on Yunus Najari late in the first half. Fullback Kaliso Muda followed dismissed in added time for striking forward Nuval Zohoni in the face. Raja secured victory through Banisa Banara's close-range strike in first half stoppage time. A goal Sundowns protested for offside. Now, the win marked Raja's first in the group stage, while it ended Sundowns' unbeaten run. Sundowns last won the CAF Champions League in 2016, while Raja are three-time former champions. Super Eagles forward Victor Osimhen kicked off the new year in style, playing an important role in the Galatasaray's 2-1 triumph over Gustape. Now, following a week-long break, the club returned to action where Osimhen opened the scoring from the penalty spot in the 10th minute, bringing his season tally to an impressive 13 goals. With just 47 points, the club sits atop the Super League table, firmly establishing themselves as title favourites. Osimhen's consistent performances, on the other hand, continue to highlight his crucial role in the team's success, further solidifying his reputation as one of the league's standout players. João Pedro's second-half penalty dealt a blow to Arsenal's title ambitions as they were held to a 1-1 draw by Brighton. Arsenal struck first in the 16th minute when 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri, making just his second Premier League start, scored a well-crafted goal, linking up with Mikel Merino and Declan Rice. Nwaneri's low shot slipped past goalkeeper Bert Van Bergen into the far corner. Now, the Gunners dominated much of the game, but failed to capitalize on their chances. Brighton equalized just after the hour mark when Pedro converted a penalty following a bizarre incident. Pedro flicked the ball up, and William Saliba's attempted header made contact with Pedro's head, leading to the spot kick. The draw leaves Arsenal 5 points behind leaders Liverpool, having played 2 more games. And that's all we can take at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu defends subsidy removal, inaugurates key projects in Enugu State. Senior lawyers divided over persecution of judges allegedly involved in age falsification. And we also told you that Mali's army has arrested Islamic State leader, kills fighters in northern operation. Now remember that you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, on Star Times channel 274. Check us out on Arrow TV, or better yet, stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV. Bye for now.